Hello, Hylje. Hello, Boozt, and hello, everyone that is watching. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. We're trying a live stream, so hopefully it will work out. If you have any questions, you can write in the chat. We have people watching. And also, a big thanks to the huge crowd that has shown up here at the Boozt headquarters. Today, yes, a round of applause to yourself. Thank you. Yes. You cannot see it on the stream, but there are hundreds of people and they look fantastic. But we also have 3 people with us here today, and you get to hold the microphone for a little bit. And today we have Plamina, who is the CEO of Nordic Women in Tech Awards, and we have 2 developers. Yes, another applause. Yeah, we like that. That's very good. And we also have 2 developers right here from Boozt. We have Emma and we have Sadaf. And and they are great. And what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little chat for around 30 minutes where we talk about their ways into tech, what it's like to be a woman in tech, some tips, some stories, because it's important to create role models, and we will get into that later. And I think it will be very clear after this conversation, because that is pretty much why Nordic Women in Tech Awards exist. So why don't we start with you, Plamina? A quick introduction. I know you like to talk, but keep it short. So a quick introduction to yourself and Nordic Women in Tech Awards.
Thank you very much. And first of all, thank you for the invite, for being here. And I'm excited to be for the very first time at Boozt facilities. Yes, my name is Plamina. I'm the CEO of Nordic Women in Tech Awards. We've been doing that for 5 years almost. Nordic Women in Tech Awards is an initiative that we run to showcase or feature the amazing women that have achieved a lot in the tech industry already, because they are there. We just don't feature them. We don't talk more about them. And we'll talk more about the tech industry and what is the situation and why do we need that in a bit. But in general, the whole idea behind Nordic Women Tech Awards was to just celebrate and showcase the amazing work that we are doing in the tech industry.
Thank you, Plamina. Yes, one cannot applaud Plamina enough, what she's doing together with her partner, Kate, who is also here today. 2 amazing women that are doing so much for women in tech in general in all of Scandinavia. It's very impressive. Why don't you, before we go on, why don't you quickly tell us your travel or your way into tech? I know you're from Bulgaria, and you had quite the experience when you came to Denmark to study here.
Yeah, I think it's a very long story. I don't even know where to start from. But let's just start from Denmark, maybe. When I moved to Denmark 13 years ago. Wow, that's a long time. 13 years ago, for my master's degree, I followed a computer science and engineering master's program, and I was one out of 120 people, or the only female out of 120 people following the computer science program. And it was not only the cultural shock that I got moving to a new country, but it also the shock that you felt like an outsider, because it was more like, okay, do I belong here? Was it like, is there a special program only for women, a computer science program only for women? So it was a little bit, not only shocking, but also very disappointing, I would say, for me, because one could easily feel lonely being the kind of, the only one or being the outsider there. So it took a lot of commitment, dedication, and willing to develop my career in the tech industry, despite all the challenges that you can potentially go through as the only female in the room.
Yeah, 1 out of 120, 150. It's difficult as a man sometimes to imagine walking into a room with like 120 women and you're the only one. I think it would also be a bit shocking if you were a man. I studied languages in high school, and we were 4 out of 23, so I can relate a little bit. But if you pass the microphone to Sadaf. Sadaf, before we talk about your journey, let's just can you tell us what you do here at Boozt?
Hi, I'm Sadaf. I'm from Iran, and I'm a front-end developer here at Boozt. I've been here for about a year, yes.
Yes, amazing. And you came from Iran to join Boozt. What was it like studying tech in Iran? Do you have any similar stories to Pamina?
Well, it was very different compared to the culture here in Sweden. In the Middle East, specifically where I come from, I was one of the very few people like Plamina in my faculty of IT engineering where I studied. And I remember I had a professor in my first programming course. He specifically said, and I quote, "Why do women even bother to come to university? They fill up the spot for men. So why do you even bother?" And I remember, out of spite, just to prove him wrong, I decided to become his best student in that class. I managed, thankfully, and he was really surprised. He would not admit, but everyone could see he was really surprised. As unpleasant as that experience was, it put me in the path that I am today. It made me actually become interested in the world of tech, because when I was trying hard to become the best in the class, I actually realized I'm interested in this. So I'm also kind of thankful, but I can see that struggle with many other women there. So that's where I come from.
Amazing. And if you pass the mic to the last person today, it is Emma. And Emma, again, if you could quickly tell us what you do at Boozt and how long you've been here.
Yes, of course. Hi, I'm Emma. I have been at Boozt for a little bit more than a year. As Sadaf, I'm a front-end developer. We're kind of in the same team, you and I, so we kind of do the same here at Boozt.
And your journey into to tech, was it something with a class where you were also alone, or how was it? Can you share with the audience?
Yeah, that's correct. I was the only woman in about 30 students at my university, or my class. We had different tech programs, or what you call, and out of those, I think we were 2 women and about 120. So we're kind of in the same situation as both these women.
It seems like everyone is in the same situation. Normally, you know, when I go to a tech conference, on a good day, it's 80-20, sometimes in 90-10% in that thing. So it seems there is something that we still need to talk about. But if we go into this situation now, you all kind of experience the same thing, being the only one or one out of very few. Can you give us some examples of, like, what's it like? Has it been good? Has it been bad? What is it like to just feel that, you know, okay, there's obviously something here where I'm either not supposed to be here, or what kind of feelings does it leave you with?
Yeah, it can be quite difficult sometimes being the only woman in projects, or even just in entire companies or classes. You have to deal with a lot of discrimination and not being respected and thought of as your idea as being a good idea. So that is some of the experience.
With Sadaf, it was very clear. It was like a punch in the face, like you don't belong here. Have you had anything like that direct, or was it more just a feeling, like a sense you were left with?
I have one scenario that has been with me a few times, and it's been we've been talking about ideas how to solve a problem in an application or a web page or anything. And where I put out my solution, and it's been like, no, that's not the best solution for this problem. And then we continue the discussion around the table, and then a male colleague might come back to the exact same solution that I had. And then that solution is respected and being the one that we go through with. So that is something that I've been experienced a few times in my career. Yeah.
Thank you. If you give the mic to Sadaf, and then I can kind of recognize that, you know, sometimes if you're not the popular kid and you tell a joke and nobody laughs, and then this, like, another popular kid says the exact same thing and everyone is loving it. But you have had somewhat of a similar experience at your, was it your first workplace or something, where you experienced that you came with an idea and you said we should do this, and then how was it? Can you share that experience?
In general, in our work cultures and all my previous workplaces, which were in Iran after my university, you were considered by default to be 10 steps behind. Simply because you're a woman, you're already sort of considered insignificant. And you always have to feel like you have to step up extra just to fill in those steps. And the worst part is that well, it's obvious that people make mistakes in their work, especially when you're just starting out, right? It's only natural. But somehow those mistakes become 10 times more catastrophic when I do it or when a woman does it, because you're expected to make a mistake. You're expected to screw up. You're like a ticking bomb waiting to mess up, and people can just point and say, see, I told you she couldn't do it. But somehow if a male colleague did it, it didn't seem that big a deal. They would just laugh off, haha, just don't make the mistake again. So this was somehow something I always felt, and it caused me to become extra cautious with everything. Always overthink something I wanted to ask or say maybe 5, 10 times with the fear of it sounding stupid, because I'm already considered insignificant. So,
And you have also experienced that what you were supposed to teach a man and learn like what you did or something. Can you recall that story?
I had an experience where I was recruited in a company, and there were 2 male interns who entered the company. I wasn't an intern then. I was more of I had like around 2.5 years of experience. They were supposed to learn from me, And I remember our manager, who was obviously a man, he always favored the 2 interns and always used to say specifically, he said it once to me, that look how they grew, but not you. Look at you, you've been here, and what have you done? I remember those words, and it did hurt. I used to have a lot of painful days, a lot of days that I felt really worthless, a lot of days I would just break down. And I think many other people might have experienced the same thing.
Pamina, when you hear these stories, obviously with both your own experience from being a developer and also with Wonder Coders and Women in Tech Awards and all this, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like has anything changed since you came into the game?
Some things have changed, that's for sure. I hope we are going to the right direction. A lot of organizations are popping up. A lot of initiatives are also popping up for supporting women in tech or female empowerment organizations, and which is great. And I see that the support is there. I mean, we have a room full of people who care, so they're here today. And that's great, but I still feel like and we've discussed that earlier actually, there is this built-in stereotypes that it's very difficult to get out, and it will be a constant fight, and it's also a lot on us, of course, to point things out and not to be quiet, to step up and either raise hand or support other women that are going through the same experiences. But it's also on organizations to do some work on their end, because it's not only us changing, it's also organizations changing, also other society changing, to put it this way. So when I see these initiatives and these organizations, it's great that we have them, but the focus shouldn't be only on changing women. That's 100%. The focus should be also changing organizations, making sure that they're welcoming enough, making sure that they're inclusive enough, making sure that, not only you recruit the talents because either they're female, that's why we recruit them. That's not the point. This is not how you're diversifying your teams. Technically, maybe, but it's not necessarily that it's going to work for you. It's more about making sure that you invite the people or your new employees to the dance. They feel included, they feel happy in the team, and it's also society making sure that you correct people when they say things that are stereotypical things. Like, I went to a tech conference, it was not long ago, and I was the only woman. It was a C# programming language conference, which was awesome. And then there was a pizza, because it was a late conference, and there was this guy sitting next to me. He was like, "Oh, hi, are you here for the pizza?" Like, I'm not supposed to be a programmer. And we had a case recently where one good friend of ours also, she went to pitch her idea at an investor. And the investor was like, sorry, but I cannot take you seriously in this pink dress or skirt or something like that. And I was like, we are not living in old days, We have to be very careful how we say things, and sometimes we offend people. So just count to 10, think a little bit before you say something. This is also, yeah.
So sometimes, especially if you as a man, share these things, you immediately, that's just political correctness, and that's not a problem anymore, and we have talked about that. How long do you think we need to talk about women in tech, and what's your best advice to younger developers coming in here?
Of course, it might be a cliche, but one thing will be not to give up, because we tend to, if there is something that is super challenging, we tend to step back and maybe quit even, and not even try out. What kept me, and I can hear also what kept you going to become developers, to develop further your career in the tech industry, was not giving up and fighting for it, because you knew you loved technology. And we should all do, because this is the future. In one way or another, we're all part of it. And finding communities out there, because there are plenty nowadays that can support you. So it's easy to give up, but it's much better to fight for something that you really care about. And if you really want to develop your career, just get the communities out there. It's plenty of communities that can support you. You mentioned Wonder Coders. Something that I really liked about Wonder Coders when we started was that most of our mentors were male, and that we knew that this is going to happen. We wanted to make sure that it's not limited. It doesn't matter whether you're a male, female, any other gender that we have now in modern days. If you are interested in it, if you care, and if you really want to support, you're part of it. So,
if you pass the microphone on to Emma. So obviously Boozt is a sponsor this year of Nordic Women in Tech Awards, a 100% volunteer-driven organization, which goal is to create and celebrate female role models within tech, because it's important for people to be able to see others that do it, to mirror themselves, because if we only have these people that have taken Stanford and Harvard, and now they're IBM and Google and Microsoft, that's perfect. But for a lot of women, it's a bit difficult to see themselves and their path in that, because they haven't gone to Stanford or Princeton or Howard, and they are not the manager of Google and Microsoft, because sometimes they seem a bit like they're superhumans. But what have you had any role models in your career? And if you can also tell a bit about what's it like working for Boozt now, where with the numbers, I mean, often when you're talking women in tech, then some companies are saying, well, we have a 50-50 split. And in Boozt, we actually have, I think, more than a 50-50 split if you look at the whole organization. But when you then look at who actually works with the tech, then the number always falls a little bit. And Boozt has a pretty good number, and this is not my quote, but it's from the HR boss, that we would like that number to become better. But what's it like coming here to Boozt, and then also role models? Have you had any role models that have helped you?
I don't actually have had any role models. I've tried to find my own path and maybe becoming a role model for someone else to see what I've accomplished and follow my path. If I can lead someone, that would be amazing. Being at Boozt, this is the first company that is really big for me to be at. I've been a consultant before, but not as big of a company as this is. So being at Boozt it's fun. You always meet new faces and always someone new in the tech part to know. So I like it at Boozt. It's nice.
So what's it like being a woman in tech at Boozt, like a female developer? Is there anything that has changed from like your other experiences?
It's better. We're more women here than at the other companies, so that's uplifting.
And what kind of difference does that make? Can you try to explain for people that maybe don't know? Like, are there small examples that the others maybe don't see?
It's good for me because I have Sadaf. Sadaf is my teammate, so we work on a few things together. So having someone in your team, being a woman, you can always kind of bounce off each other a bit better than the male colleagues. That's my experience. So I think that is the good thing about being a woman in Boozt, because you have a lot of other women's across the other teams, so you can go and bounce things off of them that doesn't have any clue of what you're actually doing. But Sadaf, we know what we're working together on, so we can bounce off each other in another way. So I think that's the good part about being as many women as we are at Boozt. Yeah.
I definitely think that you can become a role model, and you probably already are to someone. You never know. And if you pass it on to Sadaf, if you can continue on the same path in terms of if you have had any role models, you want to be a role model, and if you can touch a little bit on coming from the Iranian culture to Boozt, which is like a multinational company based in the Öresund region.
If I have to speak about how different the environment is, where do I start? The thing is that, like Emma said, because we have much more diversity here and a lot of, and it's more normalized that women can be in technology, they can, and I quote, be taken more seriously, the thing that I used to face before. This is really good for me, but also surprisingly challengeful, because this transition took a long time. I think maybe I've been in Boozt around a couple months, more than a year, a couple months. It took me at least half a year to digest this change, digest this difference that, okay, you don't have to be so persistent or so aggressive. People can accept you as you are, and that was a very, very nice thing to experience, but also very hard to accept. I had a lot of trouble accepting positive feedback. I still sometimes do. I'm still in the process, but it's getting much easier. It's getting better. So those past experiences have shaped me in a way that it's hard to let go. And maybe some people can relate, but like Emma said, it's very reassuring to see other female colleagues, because you kind of always feel a little warm inside that, okay, there are other females here, so it's more normal. You don't stand out in a bad way. You don't look awkward and weird. It's normal to be here. But yeah, the transition took time, and but I had amazing colleagues, amazing managers, people who were helping me in this way. They even understood the specific experiences of mine, and they even helped me to understand that I don't need to be so persistent with many things. I don't need to take some of the criticism personally. It doesn't lower my self-worth, and it's just being in the workplace. So it's been a very positive experience for me.
Thank you very much, Plamina. When you hear this, I saw you shaking your head because you agreed or you could relate. What's your comment when you hear this?
I can completely relate, both from, I would say, coming from different culture, and also for finding yourself or building yourself as your own role model. But I think that's the reason probably why the number of women following career path in tech is not that high, because there are not that many of us that would try to be your own role model and, build yourself up and be better and better and better. I think what you mentioned, and I know you love talking about role models.
I think it's important.
It's very important. I completely agree with you, and that's the whole idea behind Nordic Women in Tech Awards also. I think we need, if you look, and I know we're not going to talk numbers today, but if you even a little bit try to see the statistic of the number of women dropping out from computer science programs or any programs that are either software development, something that is a little bit more into deep tech, AI and all that, the numbers are even dropping more, which is, horrifying. It's catastrophic, because we need them there. We need the female perspective there. And some of us, we are trying to be our own role model, but others need the push. Yes. Because we are different personalities. Even though we are all humans, we react differently to things. So you either be a fighter and go against all stereotypes and, basically whatever people tell you, you go against, which is great, because I like when people tell me that I'm not good enough. Then I go fight and I show them, wrong. But not everyone is like that. So some of us actually drop out because they don't feel supported enough, they don't feel welcome enough. You go at the room full of men only, and then white men, young men, at university, and you're like, okay, that's not my place, because all my teachers are also male. I don't get the support that I need. And I know that there's a lot of arguments saying that, oh, but you know, you work harder and then you get to where, the level they are. Yeah, you can work harder, but you need still the support. And I had mentors at university that supported me, male mentors, which is I'm grateful by day that they were there for me. And even though that I didn't have female role models, I had mentors. And this is, I think, is what is so important. You can have the support of a female role model, but you need mentors as well. Male, female, it doesn't matter. You need mentors.
That was a very strong final message. Do you have anything to add, or I think that was very good? Yeah.
I think that's it.
So if you have like 2 or 3 words, what's that to like?
2 or 3 words.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Final message.
Don't think, act. That's it. We have to
act.
act. We have to act. That's it. Everyone has to take a stand if we are to make a difference.
Very good. And if you close, I'll give it to Emma. Then it'll be the same for you. What's your advice? Your final word? How can it become better? Do you have anything that you can add?
I think back of an old Swedish personality, I think she was. Grynet. I don't know if a few people know about her, but she had a saying in Swedish, and it's ta ingen skit. And that translates to don't take shit. Because don't take fucking shit. Stand up for yourself and like, this is what I think, this is what I believe in, and do it. Instead of hesitating on yourself. I think that's a big.
That's good. That's good. That's very good. Look into the camera and just say it with, don't take fucking shit. That's good. And Sadaf, your kind of final message?
Well, I think that first of all, we're all human, and it's very natural for us to not know everything and not be fully experienced in everything. Do not be afraid of not being perfect or not being good enough, because nobody is the truth. And don't think that the fact that you're a woman also makes this worse. So embrace it, embrace not knowing certain things, not being fully experienced. If you have questions, ask them, it's all right. And don't take everything personally in regarding this area. And being a woman doesn't make you something of under the ordinary. It's totally normal. You can even be extraordinary if you want to.
That is very strong. And I think if you wonder why I'm sitting here, it's because when I was in 2017, I was in a fintech startup, and this Bulgarian lady came to me. She was about 23 or 25 or something. It was not her. A younger Bulgarian, no diss. So she came to me and said this thing about, like, I cannot relate to all these events. I can never see anyone like myself. I went to a shitty university. I'm a project manager in a fintech startup. What can I do? And I said, okay, well, let me make a little event called Women in Fintech for you, and then we can do that. And then we had this, and coming from normally doing events with blockchain and crypto with 90% men, and then like in came all these women and were like, how can we help you? I never had that question before. Well, you can get some water out there, that'd be great. And it was really helpful, and they were so appreciative. They were really like, thank you. And they created like these bonds, and I could just see it really meant a lot. And so we did that, and then we did some more Women in Tech, and then you came knocking one day and said, what about this Nordic Women in Tech Awards? So that's why. So my message, if anyone cares, is that everyone here can do something. You that are sitting there, if you're in Iran or Sweden, whatever, you can go to your local library, you can go to Foo Cafe, you can go to Women in Tech Malmö, you can go to whatever you like and say, hey, I want to do an event and a talk. And maybe there will be 5, 10, 20 people, but it will be important to someone. So anyone can do anything to improve the status quo. So before we go today, I want to say a huge thank you to the 2 guys behind the camera. This is the first live stream we've done, so great effort. I'm sure it sounded okay and looked okay. And yes, Emma, thank you very much. Sadaf, both from Boozt, and Plamina from Nordic Women in Tech Awards. So thank you very much. We're gonna round off the live stream now. So thank you very much for watching.